Today marks 5 years since Hurricane Harvey hit the Texas coast and destroyed much of what was in its path. We are going to look back at that day, plus how the communities down there are rebuilding.
Plus, a local team working on a project to reintroduce native freshwater mussels to the San Antonio River. Tiffany Huertas is going to tell you more about this important role that mussels play on our environment.
And Mike and Fiona from SA Live are going to be with us today to talk about their involvement in the KSAT Pigskin Classic, which is just a couple of days away.
Live from KSAT 12. Good Morning San Antonio starts right now.
We have another jam-packed newscast coming up. Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, August 25th.
That's right. Almost Friday. Not quite. I hope you had a good week so far. And, you know, the weather's been pretty nice. I mean, to get that rain that we've been wanting for a long time. Very
widely scattered showers and storms, depending on your location. Lots of clouds out there. Sarah Spivey's in this morning.
Hey, guys. Good morning. Yeah, I kind of missed out widely on Monday night's rainfall, but I was happy because yesterday, downtown area, I got some good rain. I stuck my plants out there real quick so they could get a good drink of water. Now, the aquifer is actually up in the past 24 hours. It's up 0.7 of a foot because of the healthy rains we've seen across the Edwards Aquifer recharge zone. Unfortunately, I do have to let you know, molds are very high today, even higher than they were yesterday. That's the downside of the rain we've seen, and fall elm is present in low amounts too. All right, let's take a quick check of the radar here. We're going to have a more in-depth look at the radar coming up during the full weather, but I want to give you a snapshot right now. You can see some things really clearly. Most of the rain right now is well south of Highway 90 in Atascosa County, near Pleasanton, south of Floresville and Wilson County, near Kennedy and Karnes County, and in DeWitt County near Cuero. We've actually got a flood advisory, which is a step below a flash flood warning. Basically just means that there could be some minor street flooding in DeWitt County. We're starting to see a couple of very isolated pop-up showers in South San Antonio, and that's going to be the case today for us. We'll have a few downpours. It's going to be very humid. Widespread rain like yesterday, not as much, but still a few downpours here and there. And this weekend, less of a rain chance, but it will not be too hot. And then finally, coming up in the forecast, we're going to talk about our rainfall that we've seen so far. I'm going to give you a neighborhood view of those rainfall totals and an updated look at the drought monitor as well. For now, though, let's take a look with traffic with your traffic authority, Stephen Cavazos. How are those roads looking, Stephen?
Dry over here, Sarah. Thanks a lot. So US 90 at Couples, a different shot than what we were showing our viewers yesterday at home. We saw a bunch of issues out there, especially along 281 and up towards 35. But right now, things look pretty dry, and you can see the commute is picking up already. But actually, we've also seen that some of the issues that we spotted a little bit earlier have also dwindled out. So that's some good news. But 281 at the quarry was one of the main areas. And what we're seeing now is still somewhat of a slowdown, and this particular stretch of road there along 281 does have a few cameras from TransGuide, and what those cameras are showing is just some slow-moving traffic, but really no issues have been reported out there. But typical slowdowns that we are still seeing along 35. Keep in mind we have the Northeast Expansion Project, the first phase, still underway, and we also are seeing some road work up here on the northwest side near Loop 1604 and I-10, as well as Helotes. So just expect the usual slowdowns and the usual trouble spots, and pack your patience if you have to travel through there. But as we get one last look at TransGuide 1604 at Spurs Ranch, looks like things are moving just fine. Mark Suff.
Thank you, Stephen.
Let's look at today's 9 at 9. 3 months to the day of the Uvalde school shooting, the school board announced the firing of school police chief Pete Arredondo. He had been placed on leave nearly a month after the shooting. Then the school board moved towards his termination in July. Arredondo has been criticized for his handling of the tragic event. Arredondo and his attorney were not present at last night's meeting.
During day 2 of Michelle Barrientos Vela's public corruption trial, a witness described the former constable as a bully with a badge. Testimony centered around an incident that happened around the Easter holiday in 2019. Barrientos Vela's defense team called the incident a misunderstanding. Testimony continues this morning.
Today, the Department of Justice is expected to present the magistrate judge with their proposed redactions to the affidavit that led that judge to authorize the FBI raid of former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home. It will then be up to the magistrate to decide which parts, if any, of that document should be released to the public.
President Biden sending major financial relief to more than 40 million Americans who could see their student loan debt reduced or in many cases erased completely. $10,000 in federal student loans are canceled for most borrowers. That amount going up to $20,000 for Pell Grant recipients. The president is also extending a pandemic-era pause on federal student loan payments until the end of the year.
Gun safety activists are celebrating a new Biden administration rule that went into effect yesterday. The Justice Department has changed the federal definition of a firearm to include so-called ghost guns. Those are the hard-to-trace, unregulated weapons often sold in kits. Under the new definition, ghost guns are now treated the same as traditional firearms.
A major legal victory for the widow of former NBA star Kobe Bryant in her fight over graphic photos from the day of Kobe and their daughter Gianna's deaths. A jury has awarded $31 million in damages to Vanessa Bryant and co-plaintiff Christopher Chester, whose wife and daughter also died in the helicopter crash in 2020.
The Biden administration taking another step to try and preserve the Obama-era Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, also known as DACA. It allows certain undocumented immigrants brought to the U.S. as children to remain and work in the country. Yesterday, the Department of Homeland Security announced that finalized rule, which aims to continue the original DACA policy and takes effect on October 31st.
America's hot job market has been even hotter than we all thought. The Labor Department just released revisions of jobs numbers in the first 3 months of this year. It says employers added 462,000 more jobs than previously reported.
Americans are cutting back a bit when it comes to pets. Retailer Petco says people are still buying pet food, but have slowed down on buying supplies and pets themselves. Sales growth hit 3%, the slowest since early last year. And that's today's 9 at 9.
In your morning headlines, corporal punishment coming back to one school district in California is going gasoline free.
Plus, part-timers need to party, and a 17-year-old sets a couple of records in the air. David Sears is here to explain all of this morning.
Good morning.
At 17, lucky to be able to drive a car, much less fly an airplane.
This kid's amazing.
Really good story. We'll have that for you in just a second. But first, let's start with this. Some of us are old enough to remember when schools across the country were allowed to paddle the kids who really acted up in school. The teacher had the paddle placed in a very strategic spot so everyone could see it, and when they had to use it, they called a witness in and paddled away. Years ago, schools outlawed that practice, but a school in Missouri bringing it back. They're bringing back spanking. The town is Cassville, population about 4,000. The school is asking parents for permission to let their child be spanked. They say it will be a last resort. It'll be here before you know it when you can't buy a new gas-powered car in California. They are banning new gas car sales in 2035, the first ban like that anywhere in the world. Gavin Newsom signed an executive order in 2020 mandating all vehicles sold in the state by 2035 have to be zero emissions. The Biden administration just reinstated the state's ability to regulate its own emissions. President Trump rolled that back in 2019. For now, gas cars can stay on the road. If you are looking for a part-time job and you know somebody who is, it's party time. Party City looking for some help this holiday season. They want to hire 20,000 temporary workers. That is 3,000 more than they hired for the Halloween season last year. They are looking for team leaders, supervisors, sales, stock associates, and cashiers. The company plans to make about 10% of those part-timers full-timers. They are the ones that sell all those costumes and decorations around this time of year, if you've never been to Party City. All right, he is from Europe, and he is only 17 years old, and he just completed an incredible feat. He flew solo around the world, and when he landed back home, he actually broken 2 records. He became the youngest to fly solo around the world, and he did it in a microlight aircraft. That record was set by his sister. She's not upset, more proud, if anything.
I'm feeling incredible to have finally, after 5 months, I've done my journey. And yeah, I'm really happy.
I'm super proud of him. I'm really excited that he got to experience the same thing I did. I think it's really cool.
His parents are both pilots, so Max says it's in his blood. He was actually the youngest pilot in the world when he got his license at age 15. His favorite areas to fly over, the Sahara Desert and Iceland. He actually flew through some serious weather, from storms to heat. He got so hot, his plane got so hot during one part of the flight that the glue that holds the solar panels to the plane actually melted. Oh. Max says his next move, go back to school and make up for the 5 months he missed. But boy, will he have a show and tell to tell.
Yes, he will.
What if that plane will fit in the school? I guess he could take it to the schoolyard and say, see what I did with my summer? What do you
Park
guys
that
do?"
out front.
That would be nice.
Absolutely.
That.
Yeah.
Definitely show and tell.
And between him and his sister, one day we may hear on the overhead speaker on our flight, this is Captain Rutherford reporting from the flight deck, right?
Could be.
Yep.
Flying planes. Maybe they'll fly together like to space or something.
Oh, that would be nice.
It could happen.
That would be cool.
I like
We'll
that
see.
the whole family's involved.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Never know.
All right, David, thank you. 9:08, about 78 degrees still ahead on GMSA at 9.
The latest episode of South Texas Crime Stories is out now, and coming up, co-host Erica Hernandez will be joining us to talk about the San Antonio Strangler. But before that,
coming up next, a local team is working to reintroduce native freshwater mussels back into the river walk. Details on what the role the mussels will play.
And we're back at just about 9:12. Freshwater mussels were once found throughout the upper reaches of the San Antonio River, but pollution, urban development, and channel modifications prevented them from surviving and reproducing.
now a team at the San Antonio River Authority is working on a new project to reintroduce native freshwater mussels, and this time to the Mission Reach of the San Antonio River Walk.
Tiffany Huertas joins us live from Confluence Park with more. Tiffany, good morning. How many species are they working to add?
Good morning, Mark and Stephanie. They're hoping to add 4 species of freshwater mussels, and they are working with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service on this project. To talk a little bit more about this, we have Zoe with the River Authority. Good morning, Zoe. Talk to us about this study and who are you all going to be working with?
Right. So the San Antonio River Authority, our team of aquatic biologists, are working with Inks Dam National Fish Hatchery to propagate 4 species of freshwater mussels. So we are actively going out looking for gravid females, which means they have the larvae inside them, and we help facilitate the transport to the hatchery where they can further grow out the juveniles for introduction.
What role do these mussels play in this type of environment?
Right, so freshwater mussels are primarily filter feeders, meaning they take in the water and they filter out different things in the water column, such as algae and detritus and bacteria. So they actually can improve water quality through this filtering process.
What do you expect happens when you add these mussels in this?
Yeah, so at certain concentrations, they can actually make a really big impact on water quality. And they also provide a food source for different animals such as fish, muskrats, raccoons, and birds. So we're not only improving water quality, but we're providing a food source and just kind of restoring this stretch of the Mission Reach.
When do you expect to have these mussels in the water?
So we are hoping to be able to introduce these mussels by summer of 2023.
How are you feeling about this project?
It's pretty exciting. Mussels are very near and dear to my heart, and I'm really happy to be part of the team and part of this reintroduction process.
Really amazing. Well, we'll continue following up on this story, and we'll have more coming up on the noon show. Back to you guys in the studio.
We look forward to it. Thank you, Tiffany.
Time to check in with Sarah Spivey and get an update on some of those rainfall totals.
Yeah, it's been nice to see rain consistently in the forecast since Monday night. And here's a look at the measured rainfall since Monday. Before we get into this, there has been rain across Eagle Pass and the Rio Grande there. It's unfortunate that the radar near Bracketville is actually out, so it's not showing that rain has filled in. There's just a little gap there because the radar has been out. All right, here's a look at those rainfall totals. Sutherland Springs, more than an inch of rain. Garner State Park, more than 4 inches of rainfall. More than 2 in Del Rio, more than 2 in Bracketville. Almost an inch in Carrizo Springs, 1.5 inches in Uvalde, 1.5 inches in Pearsall. Out across our coastal communities, Hallettsville, more than 2 inches of rain. Cuero, more than 3 inches of rain. And it's still raining out near DeWitt County. Let's take a closer neighborhood view around San Antonio. At the airport, 1.75 inches of rainfall. Near Chavano Park, more than 2.5 inches of rain. Fair Oaks Ranch, almost 2 inches of rainfall there. Near Helotes as well. Elmendorf, about 1.5 inches. Unfortunately, on the west side, things have been a little bit drier, but we've still been able to clock in close to about 1/2 inch of rain in many spots out there. And unfortunately for New Braunfels, less than 1/2 inch of rainfall, but Seguin more than 1 inch. And near Canyon Lake and Spring Branch, 1 inch to 2 to even 3 inches of rain. Now, we just got got the updated drought monitor in. Still exceptional drought all around the San Antonio metro area. Although I do have to say, this updated drought monitor does not include the rain we saw yesterday. So by this time next week, we may be able to see some improvement there on the drought monitor, but it's going to take a lot more rain for us to see that exceptional drought completely go away. You can see, though, that closer to the valley, we've been able to eliminate some drought across Texas. Now, outside right now, it's 78 degrees. It feels like 80. That humidity is very high. We've got northeast winds at 10 miles per hour. Let's take a second here and look at the radar. Across San Antonio, it's fairly quiet. We have had a couple of light rain showers out near Lacoste and Castroville early this morning, but most of the heavier rain, as you can see, is near Pleasanton, south of Floresville. So Jourdanton, you're about to get some heavier rain as well. Karnes City and Karnes County seeing some heavier rain too, near Runge and near Goliad. Now, this outline that you see here in DeWitt County is an aerial flood advisory. Basically, a lot of rain has fallen there. Some street flooding is possible, minor street flooding, but that is actually one step down from a flash flood warning. So that's some good news. A lot of rainfall across the coastal plain right now this morning as well. And near Uvalde, there's one shower that's pushing off to the south. So most of the rain today will be south of Highway 90, but we're still going to be seeing a chance for rain into the afternoon because of that stalled boundary. So let me take you through the future cast here. This is a snapshot at 2 o'clock. And again, you can see most of the rain is south of Highway 90. Then as we head into the afternoon, close to rush hour, there's about a 30% coverage for some downpours. So wherever it rains, a lot like yesterday, it could be heavy at times. Once we lose the daytime heating, rain chances will go away. And then once again tomorrow, especially in the afternoon, about a 30% chance for some downpours. So it's not going to rain everywhere, but if you do get some rain, it'll be very tropical in nature with a heavier downpours possible. So just to summarize today, 30% chance for rain in San Antonio, especially afternoon, 92 for the high. So it's still going to be hot, and that 92 is going to feel closer to 100 because of the high humidity. East-northeast winds at 5 to 10 miles per hour. And our rain chances in the coming days are going to be fairly low, 20 to 30%, but there will be a chance for some tropical downpours just about every single day because we've got that tropical air mass just in place. It's not really going to go anywhere. Rain chances do come down, though, over the weekend, only 20%. So we shouldn't have too many interruptions from rain over the weekend if you want to enjoy some time outside. And temperatures, guys, cooler than seasonably average. The average high this time of year is 95, and so it's a pretty nice looking forecast for August. Coming up, we're going to talk about the tropics, which have been quiet.
All right. Well, we like the lower 90s. We'll take that. Thank you, Sarah.
Time right now, 9:18, about 78 degrees.
And coming up next, Erica Hernandez will join us in the studio to talk more about the newest episode of South Texas Crime Stories about the San Antonio Strangler.
Welcome back. If you're a fan of true crime, you're going to want to listen to KSAT's podcast, South Texas Crime Stories. This week's episode is about a serial killer that stalked the streets of San Antonio beginning in 2012.
Erica Hernandez, one of the hosts of the podcast, is joining us now to talk more about the San Antonio Strangler. Hey, good morning, Erica.
Good morning, guys.
All right, first give us some background on this case and who the San Antonio Strangler was.
So his name was Johnny Avalos, and this all started back really in 2014 when a 15-year-old girl was found dead, and then 3 more bodies showed up after that. But we later found out that Johnny Avalos, once he was arrested, had been committing murder since 2012. So that's how he became known as the San Antonio Strangler, because he would strangle these women, and in the middle of the night he would find them after getting off of work downtown as a dishwasher. And so this case was pretty much one of the more modern day serial killers that we've seen, especially in the San Antonio area.
Kind of scary. Well, Lee Waldman interviewed 2 SAP detectives on that case. What was their insight?
This was, I mean, if you have time just to listen to this episode, just to listen to these 2 detectives, because they really showed us how SAPD homicide works. And they each at the time had different cases and were able to work together to find Johnny Avalos, and it was really interesting to hear their perspective. That's Detective Duke. And what's really interesting about Detective Duke is he is the only active FBI trained profiler in the state of Texas. So he has this extensive training background from the FBI and Texas Rangers, and Detective Carrion has been with SAPD for over 20 years as well. So their knowledge and their work is really shown in this case, but it's also a case that has stayed with them for many years.
You mentioned Johnny Avalos. He was in court for all these charges in 2019. What was his sentence? So most people would think he would have gotten the death penalty in this case, but it wasn't. They couldn't give him the death penalty because he tested in his psych evaluation as having some mental health issues. So the most he could get was life in prison without parole. But yeah, in 2019, Paul Venema covered his sentencing there. And that's what I said. This is all still very recent, which is kind of crazy to me that this case is such a magnitude. We don't hear of serial killers very often anymore, but this was one that was pretty recent here in San Antonio.
Well, thanks for that case. What's next for South Texas Crime Stories?
So this was the season finale for season 3. Can you believe we've gone through 3 seasons of this already? We start season 4 in a few weeks, and we'll have 5 more new episodes for everybody. And then we have a special season 5 coming up in October.
A special season 5.
A special season 5,
right.
Yeah.
And we'll leave it at that for now.
Yeah. For now.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Eric Hernandez, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Check out the South Texas podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts.
That's right. In time now, 9:24 and 78 degrees. There's still more ahead on GMSA at 9.
Including SA Live on GMSA. Mike and Fiona are going to be joining us in a few minutes to talk about the KSAT Pigskin Classic, which of course is happening on Saturday.
But before that, David Sears is going to tell us about Gridiron Heroes and their mission to support injured football players and their parents.
There's an undeniable love of football in the state of Texas.
It's one of the most popular sports, fun to watch, but also one that comes with a risk of serious injury.
And some of those injuries, of course, are life-changing. David Sears is back to tell us about Gridiron Heroes.
Yeah, it is a local organization born out of one of those life-altering moments on the field. Their mission to support players and parents and families during that critical time of recovery.
My son Chris suffered a spinal injury playing football. At the time, there was no help. Coaches didn't know what to do, where to go, how to help the family.
Now they do. From that tragedy for Chris and his family, some triumph in the form of Gridiron Heroes.
Gridiron Heroes works with young men that have suffered spinal injuries playing high school football.
In 2001, Chris Canales played defense for San Marcos Baptist Academy High School. He was an All-American punter. He was injured making a tackle during the final quarter of the team's final game. At the time, he knew something was wrong, but what he didn't know is he would be paralyzed for life.
It's tough. I mean, we had a ICU room that's filled with all of his teammates, his coaches, everybody there waiting to see the outcome of, Chris's injury. You're surrounded by all this help, but at the same time, you feel so lonely.
That was the inspiration for Gridiron Heroes. A year after Chris was injured, his dad, Eddie, took him to the 3A state championship game just to get him out of the house. During the game, another player, Corey Fulbright, went down. And that's when Chris realized why he was there.
When Chris saw that young man being put on that cart, we were watching, with binoculars, and we didn't see any arm movements, hand movements, or anything. Chris really knew right away. So he turns to me and said, "Dad, I know what he's going to go through. You know what the family's going to go through. We need to go help."
So I wanted to be there for him to let him know just a little of what I went through.
Gridiron Heroes has been able to support some 90 players and parents, making a difference on and off the field, helping them deal with all the aspects from the paperwork to the physical work.
And that's something, as a parent, you're going to deal with if you're having to take care of that young man.
It's not so much the monetary value that it is, more so the talking to. Like, come to me, I'm going to tell you what the process is, what you're about to go through, because your life has changed.
While Eddie prepares the parents, Chris is more about the patient.
A lot of time when I go talk to them, especially if they're in the hospital or rehab, we don't really talk about what's going on with that. We talk about sports, football.
A couple of notes for you. Eddie did tell us that they support football. They still love football, but they just want to be there for those families and those athletes just in case something like what happened to Chris happens. Chris is in his 30s now. Yeah. He goes out to California. They got some friends that do some movie making and some production, and he's kind of delved into that a little bit. So he's a success, and he's a great inspiration for these kids that get out there. And unfortunately, if they end up getting injured like that. And one more thing, You saw the van that he got in?
Yeah.
They purchased 15 of those vans so far since
wow.
2001.
Great.
So if you want to help out, you can go to their website, or you go to, or if you go to the KSAT Pigskin Classic on our website, got all these stories there. So all that information is there for you, even on
Those custom bands are expensive, very expensive. You know what? I've never heard of this group before, but sports is such a big part of your DNA, David. This has got to appeal to you on so many levels.
Yeah. It's an amazing organization, and like I said, they're just there to support. They're there to help. They don't want to take anything away from people who want to play football, but they want to be there just in case a tragic accident like this happens, and it has happened. They support about 90 people across the country. They've traveled to Georgia and Tennessee, and they've been to Alabama. They've been all over the country. Just people will call Eddie in the middle of the night. What do I do? Where do I go? And he's very familiar with all the paperwork that you can imagine when you're dealing with government, you're dealing with hospitals, you're dealing with something tragic like this, just the paperwork that you have to do, that you have to, fill out and do all these forms and get all this stuff done. But he knows how to take these families step by step through this. And then of course Chris can just sit and talk to the player and be an inspiration to him.
Well, it's good that they can talk to the players, and it's also good that they're there for the families, because sometimes the families want to support their child, but they don't know how.
They don't know how. And so those two gentlemen right there will take you through the process.
That's right. All right, more to that story coming up. David, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Let's look outside with live cam. We're at 79 degrees now. Yeah, a little humid out there, but can't complain. We're not in the triple digits.
Right, and it has been so dry this summer that it has been really nice to be seeing some rain consistently in the forecast, at least scattered rain since Monday night. And temperatures this morning are still widely in the 70s. It's 75 in Kerrville, 78 in San Antonio, 77 in Spofford, 78 Del Rio area, 77 in Cotulla, 79 in Gonzales. Whoa, what just happened there? A little TV magic. You're getting a full view of the green screen. Pretty cool to see that. Okay, here's a look at 79 in Gonzales. You can see the clouds out there right now, and even the cauliflowering of some bubbling up of some showers and storms down to the south. We'll take a look at the radar in just a second. 80 at Stinson, 73 in Bernie, 75 in Kerrville, and 83 in Devine. They've got a little bit more sun out in Castroville and Devine. The aquifer has been liking this rain. It's up 0.7 of a foot over the past 24 hours, still well below the average, but it's nice to be seeing that aquifer level go up. Unfortunately, molds have been going up too because of the rain. Molds are very high, past 14,000 spores per cubic meter of air, and fall elm is low at 60. Here's a look at that radar that I was promising. Some pretty heavy rain falling right now over Pleasanton and in southern Wilson County, as well as into Karnes County. Not much rain around San Antonio at the moment, although we are seeing a shower pop up just near Hondo there. Coming up, we're going to take an in-depth look at the radar and these rainfall rates that are currently falling through areas south, and we're going to reflect on the 5th anniversary of Hurricane Harvey, taking a look at our tropical season so far this year. Mark, Steph, back to you.
Sarah, thank you. We're just a couple days away from the KSAT Pigskin Classic, and the excitement and anticipation is growing.
That's right. Over the past couple of weeks, we have been talking about the games that day, but we can't forget about the halftime shows.
Yep. Join us now, Mike and Fiona from SA Live. They're actually going to be taking part in some of the halftime fun. Hey, guys.
How are you?
Good to have you both here. We have to begin with a hard-hitting question. Fiona, what's it like working with Mike?
I tell you.
Little slice of heaven every day.
There you go. See, he finishes my sentences for me.
Oh, you guys are such a natural couple.
I know.
We're aspiring to that.
Yeah.
So moving on.
Yeah, so you guys will be announcing the marching bands and the dance teams. Now tell us about how they've been preparing. I mean, it's a lot of work for them as well.
A lot of work in a little amount of time.
Because, like with football teams, they can't get on the field until a certain point. That's the same thing with the bands, too. So we were out with the Reagan Band at one of their practice sessions, and
we tried not to, disturb them too much.
Your heart goes out to the folks playing the bass drum because they can't see anything.
Yeah.
So anyway, but they've only had about 3 weeks. They can't even get the charts for their maneuvers. The patterns they do on the field until right after the 1st of August. And so this is going to be the first time for their UIL competition displays and maneuvers that they're going to be showing them on the field with the dance teams too.
It's a brand new show. And, and the drills that go on, all that's been a work in progress. So this is essentially their debut.
Right. Like, kind of like with the players' first game of the season for them as well. And the other thing that's interesting about it is they get this sheet and it says, okay, at this beat, you take 5 paces this direction, you do this. And that's what they have to do. They just look at the field and they figure that out. It's amazing to watch.
And faster and faster and faster, which is where they lost us.
I understand. Let's talk scholarships. You guys will be part of some check presentations, I understand?
We did. We got to chat with some of those scholarship winners and present them the check. And what an incredible group. There, you're looking at one of them right there.
Mission Valley.
Yeah, each of the schools had 2 scholarship winners, so there's 12 of them all together, and nice, real nice kids. And when you chat with them about what their plans are for the future, it's kind of like, wow. Yeah, they've already got it planned out beyond college, what they want to go into. So
some of them were really surprised this summer. When we said, "Hey, by the way, you're the winner," they're like, "What?" Or the family's like, "Excuse me." So it was a kind of nice little surprise for them as well.
Yes, when we talked to them, some of their parents were there. It was just precious to watch.
Yeah. The other thing that's interesting too is we've been talking about this, how some of the players have kind of said, well, I've never played in the Dome before, and I don't think any of them really have. And that factor, that kind of wow factor, when you walk in there. When I was a senior in high school, our first game was in the Silverdome, where the Lions used to play. And you walk through the tunnel, and when it's set up for football, you're kind of like,
it's just awe. It's going to be absolute awe for them.
Once their eyes are like saucers, once that kind of goes down, I think they'll concentrate.
Yeah, because the lights are going to come down.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
The lights are going to come down, so they're going to.
It is that playoff vibe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's exciting for them. Okay, we're excited about your jerseys too. And Mark wants to say, both your last names fit.
I'm surprised they fit.
Believe it or not, yeah.
Ostahaga.
Does it just say Arasti, or can you see the whole thing?
It actually says Marcy's on this page. So, and there's also going to be a halftime competition. Who can spell each last name? I think so.
Oh, separate prize.
Without looking at your shirt.
Without looking at the shirt. Yeah.
Win a brand new Chevy truck if you get that right.
Oh my goodness.
I'm concerned since we both have number 12 on there, they wouldn't be able to tell who's who on the field. So.
Oh, we can.
Yes, they can.
Yeah.
You think? But don't forget, first game's 11:30, and then 3:30, 7:30. Those are the playing times for the games, and it's just going to be a blast on Saturday. I mean, you get chills kind of thinking about it. Nothing better than high school football. All that
excitement and everybody there.
And it'll be loud there with all the bands.
Yeah, they'll bring it for sure.
Well, it's so nice you guys to come on our show. We would return the favor, but we're usually napping around 1 o'clock. So we'll do our best. We'll do our very, very best.
Bringing you doggy bags with the food or anything?
He has not. Okay.
Shocked, I say.
You can be on our show tomorrow.
Okay.
Then you get a doggy bag.
That's right. No doubt about it. I am a fan of you guys' show, though, and thank you again for coming in.
Oh, certainly. So get down there to the Dome.
Yeah.
All right.
See you Saturday.
Big day for all of us. And again, look for the numbers 12 and 12.
Yeah.
Yes. 9:39, 79 degrees.
You're watching GMSA at 9, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. It is 9:42. So today marks 5 years since Hurricane Harvey made landfall along the Texas coast.
Let's bring in meteorologist Sarah Spivey for a bit of a retrospective. Sarah, thanks for coming back. So let's begin by dissecting Harvey by the numbers.
Yeah, 5 years ago on a Friday night, Harvey made landfall. And as it was making landfall, take a look at some of the wind gusts, the maximum wind gusts recorded. 1 mile south of Rockport, 108 mile per hour wind gusts. Near Port Aransas, 132 mile per hour wind gusts, very destructive wind gusts. Of course, we know the damage that Harvey did to areas around Port Aransas and Rockport. But then as the days went on, it became much more of a heavy rainfall flooding event. Take a look at these rainfall totals from August 25th all the way to the 30th. Now, near Hondo, less than half an inch of rain, but you go along I-10 and those rainfall numbers just ramp up. Houston reported many spots with over 40 inches of rainfall. There was a wide variety around the San Antonio metro area. In Seguin, a foot of rain in that 5-day span. Just 30 miles to the west in San Antonio, we only recorded about 2 inches of rain from Harvey. And then as you can see across areas like LaGrange, 2 feet of rainfall in many places, and near Hallettsville, about 20 inches of rainfall, destructive rainfall across areas near Victoria as well. So that's a look at Harvey's numbers. Again, the winds for the first couple of days were the most damaging parts about Harvey, but then the rain.
Yeah, I remember that morning when we were here, and we thought a lot of that rain was going to be here in this area, we were preparing for that, and it kind of happened more out to the Houston area after all.
It's because it stalled.
Yeah, I mean, and talk about it was just a difference of a county or two.
30 miles.
Yeah.
30-mile difference. We would have had a foot of rain in San Antonio like they did out in Seguin. So again, Stephanie, I'm glad that you mentioned we were working together that morning, and we came in early on that Friday night and worked through the day with Steve Brown, working. This Harvey was one of my first major weather events as a meteorologist 5 years ago when I was here, and it was really impressive to see the coverage.
Yeah, what was it like just to cover just such a massive storm?
Well, I mean, take a look at some of this footage. It was incredible to behold Mother Nature in this way. Again, that's a look there on the coast and the flooding issues there from there. But as a meteorologist, kind of harrowing to be seeing the destruction of Mother Nature in this way. You know, you can study it in the books as much as you can, but then to see the actual destruction, meteorologist Justin Horn was down there as well. There he is. And he's actually going to be with us throughout the day, the noon, 5 and 6, with stories along the coast. And of course, the biggest thing is seeing the way the community came together to help each other. Around Port Aransas, Corpus Christi area, and then out toward Houston, hearing the stories of people bringing their boats in from Louisiana to rescue others. Just a very humbling experience as a meteorologist in seeing Mother Nature at work.
Yeah, it was a massive storm.
It really was. It really was. Well, I want to talk for a second here about our hurricane season because it's been very, very quiet, Mark and Stephanie.
I mean, almost disturbingly so.
You kind of think about it like a sleeping giant situation, right? Because all it takes is one storm, and we've only had 3 named storms, Alex, Bonnie, and Colin. We haven't had Danielle yet. Again, think about that. So Harvey happened in August. By that time, we had had several storms. So we have been very, very quiet, the quietest Atlantic hurricane season since at least the 90s for us across the Atlantic. And just on cue, you know, there's some hints that we could be seeing some storms developing. There's an area of low pressure system, disorganized storms off the coast of Africa that has a 20% chance of development by Monday. And then in the Caribbean, there's another area of disturbed weather that also has a 20% chance of development in the Caribbean Sea by about Monday. Beyond that, we're going to have to be watching carefully to see if this system develops, where it heads, if it gets into the Gulf of Mexico at all. So we'll be continuing to keep you updated. Make sure to have the KSAT Hurricane Tracker app too, and that'll update you as well. Now outside right now it's 78 degrees. It feels like 80. We've got winds from the northeast at about 10 miles per hour. It's very humid. 76 in Kerrville, 79 in Hondo, 79 in New Braunfels, 78 in Del Rio, 77 in Cotulla. And as we zoom in here, it's fairly overcast around San Antonio right now, but we do have some peaks of sun on the south side. That's why it's 80 at Stinson, 82 in Castroville, 82 in Divine, but it's 73 in Bernie. Looking at the dew points are very humid. They are in the 70s, and that's where they're pretty much going to stay today. So you're going to be feeling the humidity all day long. And let's take a look at the radar because we do have a couple of things to talk about on the radar right now. You can see just how heavy that rain is south of San Antonio near Pleasanton, but we do have some isolated downpours popping up across the hill country in Bandera County and just to the north and west of Hondo and to the west of Uvalde. But it is very quiet right now around San Antonio. Let's take a look at the heavier rain that's falling in areas in Atascosa County, right along 37, Pleasanton. This is pushing into Pleasanton and Jourdanton right now as we speak. Poth and Wilson County seeing some showers and some heavier rain too, and near Kennedy and Karnes County. And so again, the rainfall that's falling is fairly heavy. Rainfall rates of 4 to 6 inches an hour. So Pleasanton could easily pick up another 2 inches of rain from this isolated downpour that's out there right now. Same with Kennedy and areas in Karnes County. But it is quiet right now in San Antonio. I don't expect as widespread of rain as we saw yesterday in San Antonio, but there is going to be the potential for a few isolated downpours throughout the day. And wherever it rains, that rain will be heavy at times. This particular model does bring some isolated rain through San Antonio metro area right around the time of the evening commute. So keep that rain gear handy with you and pack your patience if you're going to be out on the roads. By the evening, our rain chances will go away with the loss of the daytime heating. And then once again tomorrow, about a 30% chance for some isolated downpours. We've got a very tropical air mass overhead. It's going to keep that chance for isolated rain in our forecast for the foreseeable future. In your KSAT 12-hour forecast by noon, we'll be in the mid 80s. In afternoon, that's when we'll introduce that 20% chance, 30% chance rather, for an isolated downpour. High temperature of 92 right around 4 or 5 p.m. Then once we lose that daytime heating, our rain chances will be gone for the day. But for the day is the key word there, because we have another 30% chance tomorrow during the afternoon. More isolated Saturday through Monday, so the weekend shouldn't be a washout by any means, but a couple of tropical downpours could be possible. In fact, take a look at temperatures over the next few days. No triple digits because of that tropical air and a chance for an isolated downpour here or there. We'll be back after the break.
We've been talking about Hurricane Harvey this morning, and that will continue over the next few days. Justin Horn will be down live in Port A for our later newscasts.
That's right. Justin was one of the first crews on the scene, and so was Courtney Friedman. She was in Rockport during that storm.
Recently went back to check in with the community, and she tells us the strength she saw during the town's darkest hour has only grown.
That's why you buy stuff here, you won't see it anywhere else.
Gloria Whitley has lived in Rockport for almost 30 years. She works at Texas by Design downtown and remembers Hurricane Harvey's astounding power.
Nothing was open down here. Of course, we didn't have facilities. I think it was about a week, close to a week before the water was clean enough. Where we lived, it was about 3 weeks before we got electricity.
Even 5 years later, some buildings still have not been rebuilt. Right now, I'm standing where the old aquarium used to be.
Here at the store, Whitley described bad water damage, but the staff was determined to open back up. They didn't know at the time how strong that determination would have to be.
We had Harvey, then we had the pandemic, which shut us down also. And then we had a freeze a couple of years ago that shut us down. So it's been one thing after another.
A strong sign of vitality in the town lies in these small bait shops.
You've got some fish in there and crabs in there. And if you think about when the hurricane came through here, destroyed this entire building, without the bait, the fishermen can't come, they can't spend money in hotels and restaurants. If you think about it, the entire economy of this area depends on these shops.
While drought and inflation are now affecting the shops, they're still open and welcoming customers.
I have to say that this is the best summer we've had. Ever since Memorial Day, it has been busy, and it's thanks to the people of San Antonio and the surrounding area.
And also thanks to the true grit of a community that has just refused to give up. Courtney Friedman, KSAT 12 News.
School safety is at the top of a lot of parents' minds, and later this evening we're going to have a live online chat about those concerns.
And that will take place on the Solutionaries YouTube channel at 7 p.m. We will have a former Secret Service agent answering questions, and you can submit those questions through the website on your screen.
That's right. It is solutionariesnetwork.com. You just click on the questions tab. And as we look ahead to the Pigskin Classic this weekend, both Greg Simmons and Larry Ramirez will be here talking KSAT Pigskin Classic tomorrow right here on GMSA at 9.
That's right. It'll be on Friday before the big day on Saturday. You guys have a great day.